Jumpin' Jack Flash himself, flashing the leather at short all those years at PNC Park. Jack Wilson back on 93.7 The Fan. Jack, last
What's up,
night,
guys?
hey man, last night Oneil Cruz, 97 miles per hour short to first. What do you think in Jack Wilson's career? What did you top out at, man?
I couldn't even guess. I mean, going through being a coach and going through the travel ball circuit and these young teenagers, that's kind of what they measure now. They'll have a radar gun behind first base, and these kids let it eat. And it was like, man, we never measured this ever. Like, what kind of velo we can get across the diamond. But I saw the clip of it this morning. It was pretty darn impressive. He had some pretty nice carry.
How is he, Jack? How is Oneil Cruz gonna stick at shortstop? Because that's the big question. There's a ton of excitement. He can do things like that, basically throw a 97-mile-an-hour heater to get somebody out. What's going to be most important for him trying to stick at that position?
Well, I think anything. It's when you talk about the shortstop position, it's always the feet. You got to have really good footwork, and it's tough being 6'6" to have the quick feet, but it looks like he does from what I saw him last year in September to the little bit of footage we saw last night. It's always the feet. Obviously, the shortstop position usually ranges like 5'10" to like 6'2" is kind of the max. So it's 6'6". It's going to be a little bit different, but it looks, he's young. It looks like he's going to be able to hold himself out there for a little bit for sure.
He's actually 6'7", Jack. You're selling him short. He's 3 inches taller than any shortstop in MLB history.
Wow.
How tall are you, by the way?
I was 5'10".
Okay.
With spikes on, so probably 5. So I use the spikes a little bit on the back of the baseball card to get me that time. So I'm probably just shy of that.
What can a player do to make himself into a good major league shortstop defensively?
There's a bunch of different stuff. I was a guy that did a lot of repetition. I love just taking an hour of ground ball straight in the off season, 3 or 4 times a week, just really focusing on getting my reads. A lot of it's going to be speed of the game, him understanding who's hitting, who can run well, who doesn't. And he's in the big league, so he's had obviously a ton of practice going through the minor leagues and stuff like that. He's got game time, but the speed in the big leagues is a completely different level as far as just the speed of the game. And he just got to continue to learn from the veterans that are around him, learn from other. I always would go out in BP and watch other shortstops to see what they did, how their routine was, how they made plays, talk to other shortstops, and just gather as much information. Because other than the catcher's position, it's so intricate on footwork and where you have to be and what kind of angles you have to take when the ball's hit. All that kind of stuff comes with a lot of experience. So just be an open book and learn and watch the game as much as possible, watch other players, stuff like that. And you can use those tools to make yourself better every day.
Jack, when you hear this about maybe a young pitcher, they'll say he can get away with leaving a fastball over the heart of the plate once in a while because he can throw it 99 or something like that. How much of an eraser at shortstop? Because I never really think of it on these terms. And you're telling me you're on this travel circuit, and now this is the new thing to measure, these teenagers by maybe. Right. But how much can having that kind of an arm, if he can really harness it and be accurate over there, because it's been mostly throwing errors for him in the minors, how much of an eraser can that be for Oneil Cruz? Any other maybe, like, not weaknesses, but little kind of hiccups in his game there can be fixed by being able to throw seeds across the infield?
Well, I think the issue comes with understanding that you don't have to throw it hard across the infield only on majority of your plays. Mm-hmm. I would tell young players, like, very rarely that I really have to. Now, when I go to my right and I got to go in the hole, that's when that arm comes into play, or when I have to, like, really turn a quick double play. But even last night's play, he threw it 97, but he fielded, took a couple shuffles, and then threw it, where if he'd have just taken a couple shuffles and threw it at 85, he'd had the same outcome. But he's young, he's got that cannon, he wants to use it, but a lot of the times, too, when you're throwing that with that type of velocity over and over again, you're going to catch some flyers, you're going to get a little slippage on maybe a rain delay, and you got a little slippage on the ball, a little dew from the grass, things like that. So I started learning early in my career from, like, Mike Benjamin and Pat Mears. Those guys teach me, like, if you use your feet and
Benjamin,
the right
guy
way,
had some of the best sideburns I've ever seen, Jack. Holy smokes.
Jack, you said his name, and my brain just
went right to the birds.
Yeah, my brain blanked out on anything
Jack,
else.
what was he doing in the clubhouse? Was he touching those babies up before every game?
From the time I met him, he always had him. You know, because for me, he took me underneath. He was so brilliant in the little things. Because when he was still with us, you know, in that 0-1 season, his back was starting to break down a little bit. He didn't get to play as much, but man, his brain, as far as like infield intricacies, was so above anything I'd ever been around. Even like some of the infield coaches that he taught me so much that first year, just talking to me and just like telling me different things and little things like that. But like, you know, when it comes to your arm, you want to be accurate. Like, okay, if I throw a ball as hard as I possibly can 10 times, how much am I going to hit my target out of those 10 times by throwing it exactly as hard as I possibly could? Probably 6 to 7. But if I say, okay, if I throw this at 85%, if I just get rid of it a little bit quicker and throw it at 85%, I could probably get 9, 10 out of 10 because now my body's not violent. I'm not really letting it eat. I'm using my body to help me throw the ball. So I think very, very common. You see young players really use their arm early, and then as they get older, they realize, yeah, I really don't want to throw everything as hard as I can. That was definitely the display. Like, hey, here I am. This is what I do. Welcome to the show. This is what I'm about, which is really cool. I think in the long run, you definitely don't. There's going to be plenty of plays where you really don't have to let it eat like that.
Jack, you're describing the position. I think everybody listening knows shortstop's pretty complicated, but maybe not to the degree or near to the degree you're describing it as. Do you think it's tougher for a guy like Cruz, who's got sort of that unicorn body type and unicorn athletic ability, because he's so gifted naturally, to maybe get some of the sort of finer points that you're describing here? Like that might actually stand in his way a little bit?
I think, you know, obviously being 6'6", I mean, you think about, or 6'7", you know, you had some big shortstops. A-Rod was obviously a big shortstop. And most of those guys, you know, Jeter was actually quite big too. I think he's 6'4". You know, I think it's just bending over down and getting those balls over and over and over again. Now, when you're young, it's probably not even going to be a big deal. Even Cal Ripken ended up moving to third base towards the end. I think he was 6'3", 6'4". You know, so, but when you're young and he's got that flexibility going for him and he's got all that, he should be completely fine. I think learning the intricacies of the angles and when to use your arm and all that stuff can only help him for sure going forward, to make it so he stays healthy. You know, you're seeing more. I'm seeing more Tommy John surgeries for position players now at the younger ages because they feel like they have to let it eat in these showcases across the diamond because there's a radar gun behind first. So you're seeing more and more of these types of pitching injuries because they feel like they got to throw everything so hard. And to me as a coach, I tell my guys, I don't care what it looks like. I just want the out. If my pitcher does his job and gets the ground ball, I just want the out. You can throw it over there 40 miles an hour. I don't care. If it's 120, I don't care. As long as that ball beats him to first base, that's all that matters in the long run. So I think it's just a learning thing, and like I said, he's got so much talent. He's got, you know, when you have the arm and you need it, he's going to have it there at his disposal, which is going to be really nice because he's going to place some balls in the hole. Yep. He's going to come up and let that thing hover over there. It's going to be pretty cool to see.
Jack Wilson, former Pirates shortstop, on the new Pirates shortstop, Oneil Cruz, who's back in the lineup tonight. When you approached your job at shortstop, Jack, did you think was more of your focus on defense or on hitting?
You know what? Early in my career, all through the minor leagues, it was always hitting. I think that's how I was able to go through the ranks pretty quickly. I always hit really well. You know, I think I broke out at 370 my first year, 340 my second year. I was sitting all the way through 300 all the way in my minor league career. And then when I got to the big leagues, obviously hitting is a lot more difficult. But I kind of found out that my niche, if I could play the type of defense I felt like I could stay a while. You know, I could really solidify that position and keep a job for a long time. And so my off seasons kind of shifted to more of the defensive side because I knew the hitting can go up and down, but if my defense went up and down, I would have zero value. Then I'd have to go out and just bang 300 and drop 20 every year, and it's like I didn't think that was going to be my game. So I kind of shifted over the course of beginning of my big league career to be like, yeah, I feel like I'm still confident that I can swing the bat, but I said I really need to focus because if I catch the ball and I can take care of my pitchers consistently, I can have a job for a long time.
He's 6'7", and I feel like when I think of guys that tall, I think of like Richie Sexson back in the day was just a huge
sideburn guy.
Yeah, another big sideburn guy, big power guy. But then here's the other thing. I think of holes in the swing because there's a lot of components when you're that big, you're that lanky. We saw Polanco here struggle for so many years because, Jack, it felt like people could find holes. How difficult do you think that might be for Oneil Cruz as big league pitchers watch film, actually get to face him, and start to devise ways to get him out? Do you think he can surmount all the holes in the swing that might kind of crop up when you're that big.
Right. Yeah, I think you have a point. Obviously, his strike zone box is gonna be bigger than most. And I think that if he's gotten this far and he's been successful, he's able to swing the bat. He's hit some of the hardest balls. I think he had the fastest ball ever recorded this year in AAA. With that ball he hit up the middle early on in the season. He's gonna. It's like everything else when we talk about Major League Baseball. The guys that stay are the guys that make the adjustments the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
So when this league sees you for the first time, they're gonna fill you out. They're like, okay, what does he look like on this pitch? Can he hit the ball the other way? Where is his power zone? Where do we have to stay away? And then as the more at-bats you get, the more information that's out there. Now, you're going to find those players that, sometimes struggle. I mean, Alex Bregman went like 1 for 40-something when he started his career, and then he started making those little adjustments. So that's always a big key with every young player is what kind of adjustments they're going to make to the information that comes out to how to beat them and how they can combat it. So regardless if you're tall, big, or small, like he's going to have that period. He's got that little homecoming freshman experience right now, those first 100 or so at bats, and then that information is going to be out there, and he's going to have to adjust to that. And that's why you have really good big hitting coaches in Pittsburgh. You got people around them, some really good hitters that can help them get through that.
Jack, I was in the middle of that last answer pulling up your highlight reel. I saw an amazing double play you made from back in 2004. I think the ball was at least traveling 95 miles per hour. Just looking at it.
Hey, I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'll take it. I felt like, my biggest thing was I could get rid of the ball really quickly. I can get it in and out of my glove.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could do that, I always gave myself a better percentage if the ball was off a little bit for the first baseman to do his job and kind of come off the base or whatnot. So I was more of like, hey, get rid of it type of guy than really load up and let it eat. But there were times I remember like, okay, there's a slower ground ball to Freddie at second base, and he's coming to me, and I'm going to have to let this sucker go to get that double play. Those were the kind of times I really felt like I really needed a little bit behind the arm.
Do you have in your career a particular favorite play out of so many web gems? Is there
great question.
Is there one that it still sticks with you to this day, where you say, I can't believe I made that play?
There's two, and one's more of a teaching moment that I have for my guys. Ross Ohlendorf. You guys remember Ross?
Yes,
the Princeton man, Department of Agriculture himself.
Absolutely, yeah. He was in Arizona, and Augie Ojeda was up, and he was a left-handed hitter, and he hit a ball down the left field line. He was a left-handed hitter, but hit the ball down the left field line. Now, because I played so many games at PNC Park, and it's got that little notch in that foul territory, as a shortstop, any ball that was hit down the line, I had to run out there at PNC Park because that ball could hit that little jet out period, and it could come to me, and I could have a chance to guy at second. Well, I was so used to do that, I kept doing it on every place I went, and I went after this ball down the line, and it's rolling down the line, but I'm just running after it because that's kind of what I'm used to. And Brandon Moss comes over, and it takes a weird hop and kicks off and goes in between his legs. But meanwhile, I'm running down the line, so I end up picking the ball up by the the warning track, and I throw out Augie Ojeda at third base from the outfield. And that was always one of my favorites because I wasn't supposed to be there. It was one of those, I see something coming. Hey, I'm just going to keep running just in case it gets by him. It's an inside the park homer. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it took a hop, and I was there. So that was one of my favorites because I always teach guys, there's always somewhere to be. There's always someone somewhere you can go to help your team out, even if the ball's not hit to you. So that was one. But the one against Shane Victorino in Philadelphia, the pop fly over shortstop's head where I dove kind of feet first right in front of Garrett Jones and then spun and got Jimmy Rollins at first base on the double play. That was the one where the one play I kind of felt like when I made plays in the hole or dove or whatever, jump throw, I was like, I know I could do that. That was one that completely shocked me when it happened.
Yeah, that's one where you're thinking, Derek Jeter can't make this play. Okay, let's be honest.
The look on my face when I was looking at Garrett Jones, no way that just happened. It felt like I was like an out-of-body experience. It was I just went for the ball, and then I saw Jimmy come off, so I spun him through, and it was just one of those things where it played out perfectly, and it was just a complete shock to me because I was like, well, this ball's going to hit Jimmy in the back while he's running back to first. It's going to bounce away. I'm going to end up with an E6 because he's going to end up on second. Mm-hmm. But, that one was special for sure.
Well, there's a definite Oneil Cruz buzz here. He's a phenom. Fans are so excited, and when he got called up, I told our producer, we got to have Jack on to talk about this guy. So thank you so much, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Keep up the good work with coaching, and we'll stay in touch, okay, buddy?
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.